Hey folks, welcome to Running Retro. We keep retro running. Today we're going to be disassembling a Nintendo Gamecube and reassembling it. So this thing can be a little bit of a pain because it has a lot of different screws in it. But by the time we're done, it should be pretty easy. First things first, we're going to take off all these little black panels in the back, or whatever color GameCube you happen to have. There are 4 Nintendo-bit game screws here, so these are the 4.5, and they're a little bit stubborn and they're pretty deep down in here. So you gotta get something like my iFixit will go down in there, but it gets stuck right here and I can't get far enough to get down to the screws, so I have another game bit just for things like this. And just be careful, make sure you're on the screw head so you don't start stripping the edges off of each of the screws. If you have a particularly good magnetic bit, you can get these out of here. I do not, so the easiest way I've found is make sure when you're doing this you're on a surface that the screws aren't going to go everywhere. If you just do that and just lift straight up, set that aside, and lift up here, there are your 4 screws. Nice and easy. And here we have the internals of the GameCube. So there are 5 screws down this side. Lift that up so you can see it. I'll move it over a little bit. I'm going to take those out. When you're doing this, you want to be careful not to touch the laser. I've seen some people say put a game in here to protect the laser. I don't like that because I'm always afraid of catching the game through inattention. But you definitely want to remember that the laser is there and not put your finger on it, not attack it in any way, because then your GameCube won't work and it can be really frustrating. Got that. You can take the back plate off here. It just pops up and slips out. It's not a problem. And then this will lean forward a little bit and pop out. Be careful of this ribbon cable. We can pull it off, and we will. Actually, we can pull that off right now. Be very, very careful about that. But it just comes off right there. And actually, you'll see, like, I've done a mod right here where now this is your system battery. So if you need to replace this, here it is. But I've replaced it with a replaceable battery holder. So that's a pretty easy little mod to do. Now, there are 2 screws here on the outside of the fan. Take those out. Now, I like to have a container, in this case the top of my iFixit kit, and put the screws on one side or another, sort of where they're supposed to go. So I know these are going on the left, and so I've got these 2 screws on the left. Now once you get that, it slides out here. There's a little notch right there, and then lifts up, and that will bring it right out, and you can pop that. And you can just lay it to the side like that. Be gentle. You don't want to tug on it. You don't want to rip the cords or anything like that, but just be gentle with it. And then there are 3 screws right here. Now when you're doing this, you want to remember that there are 5 screws total, but the ones that go into the fan are the 2 on the outside, and the rest of them are under it, and it's the 3 in the middle. So the outside ones are on top of the fan, and the inside 3 are underneath the fan. So there you go. That's all 5 out. And then back here, there are these 4 screws. I'm going to take these out. There we go. There are those 4 screws out. And then there are 4 screws right here. Now all the rest of these screws that we've just taken out, the 5 here, the 4 here, and the 5 here, are all the same screw. These 4 are different. These are long, skinny screws. Like, let me get it in my open palm so it's easy to see, like that. So just as a, so you've got a comparison. They're a lot longer. They've got that long shaft on them. So you really need to make sure you keep those separate and remember where they go. I mean, they won't fit anywhere else, but you still want to make sure that you know where they go. And then these will come up. Now I like to set them down in the direction they go on top, just so I don't forget, and put them right in front, or orient them to your system. You can also use that to help you gently lift out these screws like that. Like that. Okay. Now once we're done with that, this will slide off just like that. I recently cleaned this. You can take these 5 screws out here and take the entire optical drive off, but unless you need to get down in here and underneath, just leave it together as a unit. It's safer that way. Now here we've got our board and our heatsink. What I'm going to do here is there are these 6 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to take these out. And these are also different. They've got a little washer on the top. So you want to make sure that you keep these separate as well. Now, as you probably know from the other videos I've done, the magnetic tips I've got aren't the best, but for some reason this tip is holding on just fine today. So I'll take it. It might actually just be tight on these screws, which would be fine by me. Makes life easier. Now with those, you can just jimmy this really carefully. Just rock it back and forth and it will pop up and off. So basically what's happening is this connector is attaching right here and you're just moving that off. So there's your board. For this bottom heatsink, all you're going to do is remove these 2 screws in the center, one here, one here. Take those off. And then this will come right out. Now, here's where your power supply, and where your fan plugs in and the power supply plugs in, right here. You've got your shielding here, shielding here. These just come out if you need to take them out for some reason. And you've got this shielding. To get this shielding off, you actually need to take the power supply out. We won't worry about that. This is the bottom of the board, and it's just those 4 screws. So if you want to take the remainder of this apart, just take out those 4 screws and you're good to go. Though I'd recommend leaving that unless you have a very specific reason for doing this. Now, for putting this back on, if you're having trouble with the orientation, when you're putting it back on, there is a tab here, a tab here, a tab here, and a tab here. And this, as well as here, this will fit right back down inside, so it lines it right up. Don't forget to put your 2 screws here in the middle. And these can be a little bit of a pain. For some reason, whenever I put the shielding back on, these don't really want to run back in. So make sure that because again, this is all plastic, you want to make sure that when you put the screw in, you are being careful that you don't accidentally move this and strip out the screw. So just be gentle with that. Then you're going to take your board and line up that back plug and just give it a press, just a gentle press, even pressure across the top. You're good to go. And you're gonna actually use a different screwdriver that's got a bit of a better tip on it for the magnet. And we are going to screw these back in. Now, from working on other things like cars and motorcycles, I always go in a crisscross pattern whenever I'm doing something like this so that it applies pressure evenly. And it's not a bad practice. So if you're doing this, I would recommend that you follow suit. In the worst case, you're just doing something which is being a little extra careful, and it won't do any harm. So we will get all of this down in here, just like that. All right. That's that. Now this will go back on top. Just line up these 4 holes, and you can line up the holes on the side. When you get it in line, just gently push it down. Make sure that you're pushing on the sides here, that you're not pushing on the CD tray. You're just pushing right here. Nice and solid. Now remember that the 3 inside are the ones that we need to put on before the fan goes back on. So we'll do those first. There's the 3. We'll put the 4 in the back next. And the reason is just because this way there's nothing that is massively in the way. You've got, you know, a relatively easy access to it, and you don't have to worry about everything, you know, crossing over these pieces of plastic, getting in your way, any of that stuff. You got a reasonably straight shot straight down into here. And then we'll put the 5 down the right here. Now with the screws that I'm doing right now, before this goes back on, you can do it in whatever order you want. This is just the order I like to do it. So you know, you can, as long as you remember not to put these outside screws in, and you do remember to put these 3 down before you put this on. As long as you remember that, then all of these screws need to go on before the next step. So you can do it in whatever order seems fit for you, as long as they all get put in. I've got 2 cats, and I've had this thing since the GameCube got released. So this thing was pretty full of dust when I last opened it up. It looks a lot better now, but you definitely want to take these consoles apart and give them a clean, you know, once every year or so. All right. Now for these, you want to put these back on and line them up. So there are, let's see if I can lift this up. Oh, there we go. So there are the holes right here. You want to line these up into the holes. See if I can get a little better focus on my camera. That's a little bit better. So you can see it moves pretty freely, but if you get it aligned to these 2 little pillars that you can see right here and right here, and get the holes lined up, then you know you'll be fine. So that's what I tend to do first, is get those in place. And then I'll drop these down. And I just drop all of them in before I start screwing them down, and that way they're already aligned and they're easy to screw down. You want to back these up the wrong way first, just to make sure that you've actually got them aligned with the hole, because you don't want to strip these out. You should do that on all of these screws, but a lot of them, if they don't feel smooth going in, then slow down and make sure that you actually had them in the hole and you're not stripping them out. Alright, now we will put this back on. Be very careful with this, just get it lined up and slowly apply a little pressure until it drops in. Alright, drop the front clip in and just lean it back. Take this, lean it in. Remember that there's this little notch right here, so you want to just sort of slide it right in. We'll screw this down. I always put this back plate on last. It gets in the way if you put it on at any other junction, so it just slides right in, and these go right around these two pillars. Then we'll take the top, slide the top back on, flip this sucker over, drop our screws down into these holes, back it up a little bit to make sure that we are in line, and then run it down. There we go. One more. Once it's nice and snug, we'll put these clips back on. Note that these slide in like that and then drop down, and this one slides in like that and drops down. And there you go. That's how you disassemble and reassemble a Nintendo GameCube. So thanks for joining us today. If you liked the video, hit the subscribe button and the like button and ring the bell on your way out. Thanks for watching, guys.